If you want to learn how to set up AI into your business and have it answer all of your leads, then this tutorial is just for you. My name is John Joshin, and I've worked with over 50 different businesses in many different industries, from real estate to tree companies to franchise consultants and many different others. So after watching this video, you're going to learn and you'll be ready to launch Vapi, at least the inbound aspect of it, in 1 hour into your business. And not only will I show you exactly how we're setting it up for an inbound, I'm going to show you a live representation of me setting it up for an actual customer that signed up with our customer. So this isn't some fake Facebook course or anything like that. This is a real life example of me setting it up for someone. Okay, perfect. So now that we're actually in Vapi, I'm going to show you what we're doing, what the prompting looks like, and go from there. So you can see right here, I actually skipped that first message because I found it's best if the customer will answer the phone, they'll say, hello, who is this? And then the AI will start replying back. If the AI talks right away, they might hang up. So we found if you flip the switch on them, then they'll actually start talking to it. So right here, you can see the prompt I'm using. It's just basic information about the company, and then the prompt in the script. So it's saying like, hey, you need to book this is the time, and it goes through that whole process. So this is super simple. Provider definitely use the OpenAI. For the model, the cluster, the 4.0 is the fastest one. 4 is the best, but I recommend the 4.0. It's just, it does the job every time pretty much. Temperature, you can keep this about the same. The tokens, definitely keep this around 250 because it can go too much and you just don't want to use too many credits. And then the emotion, definitely turn that on so it can actually understand these people. So the next one is the transcription. So you're going to want to use deepagram. If your language is English, just use the English. And then the model is Nova 2. It depends on what country you are. In our scenario, we're actually doing Australia. So we're going to do an AU number. And then we're just going to publish that each time we need to save it, just to make sure we don't lose anything. The next one is the voice configurator. So the provider, I personally prefer 11 Labs, and I love the voice Jordan. There's a ton of other voices you can use. What I've seen with other people is they'll actually clone their own voice or their friends' voices, and they'll put it into 11 Labs, connect their API key in the settings, and then they'll actually use their friend's cloned voice. And those are pretty good from what I've heard. My personal opinion is just use Jordan or use a different one from 11 Labs that's in the creator platform. So you use those, and then you got the model. The model, I would recommend the Turbo V2 as long as it's all the same language. And then this stuff is pretty basic. You can choose this how you want. It really depends on the actual bot. The sounds, I definitely like the office one. I like a little bit of background noise just so we can have that sound. I'm just gonna save this. So the next one is gonna be the functions. So for these functions, we're not gonna use the tools for right now. What we're gonna use is the custom function. So you can see right here, what we have it labeled as is get calendar available times. And what this actually does is a couple things. So it's not just one step, it's actually a couple steps. So you can see right here, it gets a list of open appointments. So it'll initially call the tool without anything. And then when it pulls the information, it'll send it actually back through. So you can see right here, selected slot, this will actually send it through, and all you need is just one function. So it's super simple, and you can see we're calling it right here. So when booking a time for the individual to meet with Paul, call the get calendar available times function. So right here, it's getting the available times, and then even later down the line, when they agree on a time, use the function to send the preferred booking time. And I had to specify the user's preferred booking time, or else it usually doesn't work. It's very touchy on the terminology in this. So put in the user's preferred time right there. And then once that is good to go, you can just hit save there. The next one is the privacy information. So this stuff, we can deal with most of it later. The end of call reports, we are gonna need that for sure. So I'm gonna go into make right here. I'm just gonna save this. Now we got the disposition workflow. So we're going to get this set up and get this going. So we need that URL right there. So copy, paste that in, and then now you have a disposition. And the same thing for the function one too. Just to make sure that you have it, you're going to need to put that server URL in there of the function. So it looks like that actually determined the structure, which is perfect. I'm just going to save that for now. We'll deal with it later. So the end of call report went in. And the last one is just analysis information. So we can disregard this for now. We're not going to go too much into detail into that yet. So right now we set up the actual Vapi platform. Super simple. The inbound calls and outbound calls are super easy on this. The next step is actually the booking functions. So I'm going to kind of show you exactly how that process works. So you can see right here, we have this webhook URL, and that is actually connected to this automation over here. It's going to be called Book Appointments Dentist 1. So all you're going to do is you're going to start making this. So I'm going to kind of go through this so you actually understand, because I know it's very confusing to say the least. So right here, you're going to do that dentist 1. So this address is going to go right in here. So once that's pasted, you'll get some sort of structure. You're going to have to pull the structure through. And you can see, I'm just pulling this back so you can see it. So one of them, if this condition, which is the selected slot, does not exist, then it goes this way. So for example, if the bot sent through something without this, then it's going to go that way, right? But if it does exist, then it's going to go this way. So for example, what that means is if the time was provided, which means they're actually trying to actively book a selected slot, then it's going to go to the top. If they're trying to get available times in the calendar, it's going to go to this bottom route. So I'm going to go through how the steps actually work. We're going to start with the easy one first, which is the bottom route. So you can see right here, we put in the time zone information, you output the information, and this is the current time. So our time zone is +12 for this scenario. It's New Zealand number, or New Zealand time zone. So we use that, and we're going to run that module, and that will be good to go. Cool. And then we're actually going to take that, and that result is going to go into here. So what this is doing is reformatting the dates and times so that it's applicable in Go High Level. So right here, it's reformatting it to a different format, and it's also on this one adding 3 days to the time. So it goes a couple days in the future, and what it's essentially doing is it's finding the start date of the potential time that the customer wants to book and the end date. So it's usually 3 days that we try to give it, and it just outputs those times. So I'm going to run this right here so you can actually see it in action. So, okay, perfect. So it looks like we actually got the start time and end time out of it. So we are actually going to take that and use it in here. So I'm going to just show you how this works so you get an idea. So start time, end time, X that out. So now that we actually get these times out of here, the next step is this curated connector part. So this is just a third-party platform that I love to use. It's super simple. I have a link in the description if you want to use it. It just makes the V2 pretty much instantaneous for all actions. So here, I'm just going to show you a quick example of it. So curated. And it actually has every single possible automation that you would want in Go High Level. It has location stuff and agency stuff. So every single possible one, you can throw it in there. So that's why I love it. It just makes it super simple, and it's all mapped. So right here is just going to actually pull the calendar information with that start time and end time. So the next step is going to be what to do with that information. So right here, there are other available times in the calendar. So the next thing is what to do with those 100 different options of available times, because it's literally going to pull every single one from that date range. So if you make your date range 7 days, it might pull 200 different options depending on how often your calendar can have time slots, different stuff like that. So right here, what we're gonna do is we're gonna kind of organize that and give them their best option. So we've just asked the user what time they'd like to book. This is the time zone, all the information. There's some other times on the calendar right here. And these are the available times. So you can just save that. With the output of those available times and kind of that preferred time slot, you're gonna put this into the webhook, and this will actually send it right back to Vapi middle of the phone call. So right here you can see some available other times are the result, and it's gonna output a couple different options for them. So this is today's date too, just because you always want to give Vapi a reference of the dates. So now that you can get the available time slots, the next part is the actual booking part. So right here you can see we need to get 2 different numbers for the booking time. So when the time is provided, they're going to be saying something like tomorrow at 5 p.m. That's something that's going to come through, right? So it's going to say this is when the user would like to book, tomorrow at 5, and it's going to go through. And then this second one is not just the reformatting action. We're going to add 30 minutes to the time the user wants to book. So this 30 minutes is completely interchangeable. Change it depending on how long your time slots are. So in this calendar, we have a 30-minute time slot, so we need to add 30 minutes. But if your time slot was, say, an hour, for example, you would need to add an hour. So it's super simple. Once you have those 2 things, the next step is actually pulling the call information from Vapi so you get the customer's phone number. So with this phone number, you pull the ID, the authorization, throw that all in there, and then actually have ChatGPT go in and take that information and output just the phone number out of it, because there's a lot of different information that goes in there. So I'm going to show you an example of the information that actually comes out. So right here is a call. We can just run that, and as you can see, it's an entire paragraph. And the only thing we want is just one small part of it. And that part is a phone number. So yeah, as you can see right here, this is the number. This is the only part that we need to output. And it's not easy to pull it out. There's no super simple way. So I just use ChatGPT and it'll actually extract that data all for me. And I'll format it too. So that's what I use. I use this ChatGPT, format and output only the phone number. And with that, next thing I have to do is do a contact query. So we're gonna search up that phone number in the CRM, and with that ID, you're gonna put that ID of the contact into here so it's mapped. So that means you can actually book the appointment on the calendar for the customer. So you can see right here too, select the map. You're gonna put in the calendar event right there, and then you're also gonna put in the assigned user, the person that's gonna be showing up to that appointment. So now that you got that, you're also going to need that start time and end time that you put in here. So start time, end time. And then I always like to name it something special just so you can decipher on the calendar. And it allows you to kind of see like, oh, these appointments were AI, these were this, these were here. So this kind of allows you to decipher it a little bit better. And that's actually the booking. So that'll allow you to book, and it's not going to work 100% of the time. It will most of the time work, but when it doesn't, if there's an error or if someone books while they're on the phone call, some sort of issue like that, we have the option for that. So we kind of protect you in that scenario, and we're actually going to check whether the appointment status was confirmed or whether it wasn't. So right here, this filter is appointment status exists, and the other one is the same as the opposite. Appointment status does not exist. So if it exists, you just tell Vapi, great, we have booked your quote, and then it will know exactly what to do and continue. If it did not book, then you kind of need to do the same thing. Check the next 3 days, 7 days, whatever you want to do it. In here, I have it at 3. And you're going to go to this next one, get available time slots. So pretty much the same thing as the bottom piece. This is also the exact same. Get the other available time slots, and then send that webhook through. So now that you've watched this entire video, you get an understanding of how to set it up, the inbound assistant, how to make the phone calls go to it, and how to have it book the appointments onto your calendar for you. So from there, it should be self-explanatory, And if you need any excess help, feel free to reach out and we'll gladly help you out.